Hello to everybody. I don't know how to start today. I was a little bit get confused. Anyway, yeah, it is nice to once again to have this opportunity to share some of the points based on this Jason Carper's writing. And before I do that, so last few days, I wasn't that busy. Particularly yesterday was quite, there are several different events were taking place, and so I didn't manage to do the recording, and mainly the Sarah, J, and May administrators, they want me to join with them where they distribute foods. I mean, not the cooked food, but the dry rice, flour, and others. To the mainly yesterday was mainly to the local poor Indian family. There were about 400 families, very much local, really. And so they want me to join with them just for taking a few photos and a few interviews. And it was very, very nice to visit that place. It is the place where when I was here, a young boy, studying, it is the place where we, go for a long walk in the jungle. Used to be completely jungle. Now it's, really relatively quite well-established Indian settlements. There are 3 blocks, they call it, block A, B, C. Each may have about 200 to 300 families, and also scattered on the individual their lands where they grow crops. So it was nice to go there and also have some interviews in the afternoon. So I was relatively busy and I didn't manage to do this recording. And so today I'm here again. So I'm well, and weather is not that great, but it is not raining. It is a little bit overcast. Okay. So I will do the reading. That's better. So we finished up to verse 10. It seems verse 10. Verse 10. I think the verse which ends saying, "Take sometimes the 8-day-long vows and guard them dearly." I think that is where we end. And here, those last 2 verses are reading. In the last reading, it is more like how to gradually how to train ourselves, particularly in this case, the lay practitioners. Of course, mental training is one of the important trainings. It is also physical and verbal training. Physically, how to keep our physical actions in more, the what's called the constructive virtues, as well as our speech. And here the verse, the last our reading, saying, Chisukapa is saying, if you can take those 8 lay vows, they are, of course, they are not just physically avoiding, or refraining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and so forth. All these, physically, verbally refraining from these actions are very much based on mental training, and that's important to know. When I say mental training, basically very much, compassion, cultivation of compassion, based on compassion, and the precepts are taken, precepts are kept very, purely, and that is really something important. Whether you take, those 8 lay vows, 5 lay vows, or 8 one-day, the vows, or commonly what we know in the Mahayana tradition, the 8 Mahayana, what's called precepts, but very much whatever precepts, whatever vows that we are going to take, which relate to the physical action, verbal action, they all are, based on compassion. In other words, without a compassion, if there's no sense of compassion, practicing ethics is almost impossible. So as you know, His Holiness says very often, compassion, love, and compassion are like the water for our sustain to live our lives. On top of that, then if you have some religious prescription or religious training or belief, these are the more like tea or juice that we drink. We can survive without tea, without juice, but we cannot survive without water. So that is what the analogy is. Very, very nice analogy. What he's saying is, love and compassion are the base for our survival, for us to continue to sustain our life. And it is also the love and compassion are the base to practice ethics, or morality. And that's something which is important to remember, which I didn't manage to say while we are talking about those 5 lay vows and 8, the day-long vows when we take. Of course, majority know this. It is not just refraining physical or mental or verbal doing, certain those actions, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, or anything. It is also those refraining physical and verbal actions are, led or should led by the deep sense of compassion to ourselves and also compassion to others. So that part is really what the Tsongkhapa has tied with the previous topic, which he was talking about karma, action. Our actions of body, speech, and mind have consequences, and therefore, consequences that we like, the desirable consequences, the joys and consequences of joys and happiness should, and we should create the causes, and then that's really followed this, the taking refuge, and then on the basis of taking refuge, then taking the precepts, lay precepts, and 8, Mahayana precepts. So those are the something, and then saying, God them dearly. Again, when you say God them dearly, if those taking precepts are very much based on compassion, rich loving kindness, then won't be that hard. When you say God, it sounds very, very much like those. There's particular birds in here, small hawk, the searching its prey, have a very, what's called round eyes, and shout, what's called the pigs, and looking down like this, and or other day I mentioned like a CCTV, not in that. If we do that, then we have a great difficulty. Then we will struggle. So there's that sort of, if those taking precepts are very much based on that kind of mental training, compassion, love, then guarding them dearly, they won't be that hard. Also, the previous topic, if we understand law of cause and effect, karma, and that understanding is very much within our heart, not just in here, because many of us are, I'm talking about myself, our understanding of these important topics are mainly here, and here is also not through our own analysis, but simply other people told us, just simply hearing and reading, which I mentioned in one of our talks. Those are the not very powerful enough us to act when what we have heard, those important topics like law of cause and effect, which we talk about, when those understanding become our own knowledge, our own understanding, our own experience, then they will be extremely powerful. So this guard dearly is not just focusing on one thing. It has to be, look at from the many different angles, from the many different aspects. Then guard dearly will become very, relatively easy anyway. So that's just a little bit adding on the other day our reading. So today reading will start saying, the Tsongkhapa is going into one specific, what you call that we lay people should pay attention, and that is using intoxicants. Although here, mainly focused on the, alcohol, but it is any form of, the intoxicants or those, so, drunkenness, particularly, is the, the ruin of the world, held in contempt by the wise. So, first two lines. It says in here, Thavar is Pungchebe in Tibetan. Thavar is Pungchebe, Nyuju Tongwa, Tambanam. So, first two lines. Hakbar here, the Gavin used particularly. So, particularly in the sense earlier, certain in the lay vows, there are those are 5 lay vows, and also day-long vows, those 8, and it picking up particularly saying the, the intoxic, those substances, make lose our intelligence, make lose our capabilities. Nowadays, not just alcohol. There are many, many things. In ancient time, it seems not that many. But now there are many, it seems. When I was in London one time, I was watching a documentary, and there were, those law, the people who forced the law. They are saying they can't keep the speed. To recognize the different kinds of drugs coming into market. They thought, okay, now we understand this is the drug which causes big problem, but when they start to stop that drug, there's already another new one which they haven't realized. So that sort of things. Why is that? Because in Buddha, when Buddha talked to his, particularly in this case, his ordained monks, Chang silpa suna tumija. So Chang is the alcohol, silpa is the dew drop of dew. In the early morning when the sky is clear, then those blades of the blade of the grass holds small drops of water. So he said to his follower, he will not have that amount of quantity of alcohol. What he said is, although that small drop will not make you drunk, but bit by bit, then that will, become big and happen, become part of your life. And that is what the Buddhas, upon some of the, of course, he's, very wise and very compassionate person. For example, for the fully ordained monks, there's one particular vows. It is minor, in the minor list, one vows. Even with the play, you shouldn't hit to somebody with a piece of grass. That small one piece of grass, that cut, take it, and with the play, don't hit to anybody. If you do that, fully ordained monk, that's you are breaking one of the law, minor vows. The reason is, although this beating, hitting with a piece of grass will not cause any hurt to that other person, but it is part of hitting to somebody, and that will become gradually bigger and bigger and become habit. So this is what here, what Jasanka pointed out. I think it may to do also, in Tibet at his time, out of the monastery, the lay people, the relatively hard life, I think. The majority, I think around that that area may have field, otherwise the nomad. So relatively hard. So when they have hard time, then alcohol is one of the things. And it's relatively easy to homemade alcohol to make. Not very much like here, in these days we have in the, what you call it, one of my friends, very, very, very dear friend, some of you know, Dave Ben, and he likes going to Wetherspoon, you call it? Not traditional pub, Wetherspoon. So, anyway, so that is what here. And when he says, held in contempt by the wise. So what does that mean? Never. In other words, wise one in the sense, the people who know, people who understand, what are the harmful, what are the, destructive, what are the not useful. On the other hand, the people who know the other side, helpful, useful, constructive, the things and events, that those people are called wise people, Keva in Tibetan, and when it says contempt in English, in Tibetan, meba, contempt in the sense when they encounter people who are, in that kind of situation, have a deep sense of, saying, how pity, they are in that situation, how sort of pity or how, unwise or how sort of unskillful they are in that kind of situation, unable to control their manner or behavior. So those are the things, really. It has different meanings. And then last two lines in English, therefore, my fine features ones, is good to turn from such despised behavior. Shinsang, here the term is used, my fine feature. So I think it is made to do with this. When we when we feel, I will use that word, when we feel shame, when we feel, shame, the things that we have done, then we lose our facial expression in front of the people. When we understand mistaken is made and feel shame or feel embarrassed, then we lose our face expression, become reddish, and all those things. And this is what I think here is talking about. My fine, future ones. In other words, people, one of the qualities of the Buddha. One of the qualities of the Buddha, of course there are many qualities. Among those, the qualities, there's one group, and there's a group which is called four fearless. So among the four fearless in the public, whatever he or he's going to say, whatever he's going to express. There's this sense of deep confidence, deep sense of, the confidence. There's no fear. So I think it is also to do with that here, that when it says, my fine future ones, fine future ones. In other words, people who have lived their life with ethically, with morally, with the, then they have this deep sense of confidence. There's, that's what really very much I think it's talking about when it says, therefore, my fine future ones, it is good to turn such, despised behavior. So, in other words, really to change, if you have that kind of behavior, indulging such as alcohol, some of those, the substances which are not helpful. I mean, here again, Buddha has not, for example, those 5 lay vows, as I mentioned the other day. Buddha didn't impose to the lay people, saying, take all the 5 vows. This is, I know there is this particularly, enjoying a pint of beer or, the red wine in France or nice Australian wines or all those things. Sometimes when you are in a social event, there's a culture, there is a, to enjoy, to have some kind of to build social connection or social engagement. I think almost every society, society has that kind of something to have some drink. But it is important to talk about, to think about, to understand this. There is some sort of, first of all, we are very easy to learn those unhealthy habits, many of us, and not that easy to do the positive things. And that is something which need to bear in mind. And also, when here Tsongkhapa is talking about, to reminding us there is a risk, although small, the quantity may not, take our wisdoms away. But if we are not mindful, if we are not very, skillful, this may gradually lead to. But then, of course, the drugs, those are the really just, we don't need at all. Although I was told, some of those top people, or those people have lots of money, that's also part of their culture or their social events. I don't know. Anyway, so that is something. And that is today's our reading. And really very useful to remind ourselves. Okay, now I'm going to read the Tara, and that is out of the 8 fears. Tara as a liberator, and it liberates from many different, difficult situations. And one particular Tara is praised. She is liberator from the 8 fears. And so far, we have read 3: fear from negative pride, fear from the ignorance, fear from hatred, and those are the 3 fears. And negative pride illustrated as a snow, what you call the lines, and what you call the ignorance, like the oh no, 4. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Ignorance is illustrated as elephant, and hatred illustrated as fire. So those are the 3 we have finished. And today we are going to go to 4th. And that is Tado, jealousy, envy, which illustrate here snake. Tado Rujichi. May I protect it from the jealousy, like snake jealousy. I don't know how to say that. Mari tubu kongdo ngashi shenjor punzo tongza miseba dogbe togi nyutu kapchebe chado ruji jiba gyabdusu. Ngombar shimba mariba tibe kongdo ngombar shimba. So yourself, your mind is in a thick confusion of, due to the ignorance. Your mind is in a thick confusion, and you cannot, bear. You cannot accept, the others' wealth, others' fortunes. You cannot bear to look at. You cannot bear to listen, others, those fortunes, wealth, positive things, shenjoro, jorva, the virtues, or the wholesome, or the wealth, fortune, punzo, excellence, those. Excellent things are happening to the others. Others have some excellent things, excellent manner, excellent, sounding, and everything. The tongse misuba, when you see, also when you hear, you can't bear, can't stand, misuba. It is like a poison, the bad poison that sipping into, into your body system, bitten by the snake or whatever, and that, bad poison sits under your system. So that is here, the word tado and capture. Then you have this jealousy, envy, which is a very painful emotion. we can understand, we can recognize gross jealousy or envy relatively, easily. But subtle jealousy, envy, is not easy to recognize, not easy to identify when they occur, when they are within us operating. So that is really here. This verse, this verse, Mari tipe kundu ngan xianxin. Maripa, confusion, thick confusion. You hold this grasping, or this feeling or this experience that you can't bear the fortunes, excellence of the others. Fortune and excellence of the others, don't need to be something big. They can be very, very small. When you talk about fortune, when you talk about excellence, we may immediately think something big ones. No, it can be very small. But, we can't bear that. And the person can't stand with that. So that is really here. And it is, that those so-called 4 mental states that we talk about, very fearful, and to be protected from them. And Tara, we pray, or we sort of, remind ourselves, that our mind should be protected from these unhealthy mental states. Negative pride, ignorance, hatred, and today the point is jealousy. As I mentioned the first day, how to see the Tara, how to understand what is Tara, who is Tara. And, we talk about, I said there are so many different stories, so many different ways to explain what is Tara. But, some of the most authentic or most reliable, those sutras and those teachers' explanation is, it is talking about, in terms of the seed, in terms of the potential of Tara, is within us. Each one of us have that. That is the seeds of the potential that we have to have an action to protect ourselves and others. And the Tara as manifestation or the embodiment of all those enlightened beings, quality of actions. Quality of actions manifest or the whole that aspects. So yes, of course, our today's, the difficulty, what's happening in the world is this virus. Yes, it is, very harmful. It is very, destructive. But it is a virus. It can be, when they find vaccination, that virus can be stopped by using that vaccination. But jealousy, envy, hatred, negative pride, there's no vaccination. We have to deal with them ourselves. So far, I'm saying there's no vaccination because Westerners are very, very clever to want to do everything. They may make some vaccination in the future, but I doubt. Anyway, yeah, it's just blah blah. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to stop here. Last time I was a little bit rushed, so I didn't do the Tara prayer. So today I will do the Tara prayer, and people who like to do together. Yeah. Bodha Lai Ni Joni, Tami Changu Le Chungshin, Ba Medi Ula Jen, Tusum Sanye, Tinema, Doma Koje Shen So So, Tadang Hami Jubendi, Shabdi Pemu La Dude, Pongba Kone, Dunzema, Doma Yunga, Chance. Om Je Zema, Pama Doma La Chance, Chanza Doma Nyuma Bam, Jenny Keji La. Jigen Sunggun Chugi Shedi Kasar Chiwa Changze Tongge Dawa Kangwa Yene Zigwe Shang Kama Tongda Sobe Namaji Rabdo Chewe Changze Sunggun Chuni Ke Peme Chane Namaji Jimba Zundu Kado Shi Soba Samden Chu Changze Tejin Shewe Zo Tai Nambara Jawa Malu Paru Jimba Tobe Jave Segi Shimba Changze Duda Rang Yi Duda Chota Jiden Dombo Shabye De Yuba Meba Koba Changze Geshe Mela Tsangba Lungla Naso Jombo Rana Jeza Namanda Nujun Soke Changze Jeje Chada Pege Paru Chobo Rabdo Egon da Shabdi de Mabra Chubon Shin. Chanze Duri Jiba Jembo Dugi Go Namajo. Chugi Shani Chunye Den the Dao Tamje Mansen. Chanze Gunjo Sumze Cha de Seme Toga Namajo. Malu Chogi Kolo Jen be Rangi Chanze Rabdo Gawa Jibe Udin Reji Tung. Shiva Rashi Dudara Ye Dudan Jidin Chanze Sashi Jungwe Tso Nama Tamje Gubar Nimani Chanye Yewa Yege Honge Pumba Tamje Chanze Dawe Dombo U Jen Jenba Tamje Shindo Rebe Chune Opa Me Le Tabar Shindo Chanze Gebe Tama Me Tara Barwe Chingwe Yajayung Kune Koro Ke Daye Kune Nabajo Chanze Sashi Ngala Chage Teji Niji Tunyi Jenze Ige Honge Rimba Tumbo Nage Chanze Dema Gema Shi Ma Nyangen Deshin Chupini So Onda Yanda Dembe Diva Chembo Chomba Chanze Kune Koro Ka Daye Yige Juben Hane Gobe Riban Hone Dromani Chanze Duri Shamne Da Be Honge Nabe Sabe Rira Menda Ratan Be Jigden Sumna Yewani Chanze Haye Tsui Na Be Rita Tajin Chana Tara Niju Pede Yige Duna Malu Kani Sen Chanze Haye Tsonam Je Bo Ladan Jiden Gwene Goja Kawa Je Zeda Melon Nimba Sen Chanze Nima Dawa Je Be Jinye Pola Sen Hara Niju Duda Ra Ye Shinto Chagwe Sen Chanze Tingi Sumnam Gwe Be Shiwe Tuda Duda Rama Nijun Tso Nama Jamba Tore Zare Nga Je Deba De Da Chanze Wane Niju Za Che Chanjo Semjo Rembo Che Maje Panama Je Yoru Jeba nyamba meba kongne kongdo pewa sho kanri rawe korwe shengamde pendan dewa manu chungene jere sewa tenzin janzo shabe sede pando tenyu che. Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll see you next time. And until then, take care. And I'm going to enjoy my tea. It's arrived here. Some of you comment on my tea and biscuit, so I want to tease you again. So anyway, thank you.